we know that the analogy presenting the same is that if we put the water in the roots of the tree, it nourishes all the parts of the tree. So similarly, if Krishna is satisfied, all the other devotees, in fact ourselves, we get satisfied. Bhakti Vinod Thakur also says that Hari Leela Ekmatra Jahara Pramoda, that except Hari Leela, without glorifying Krishna, you cannot get the complete satisfaction, which we see that Vyasdev mentioned in text 31 as well. And then later in chapter 5, verses 8, Narad also himself actually told Vyasadeva that the reason is that because he has not glorified the personality of Godhead. So and how we can apply it in our life is that the correct application is, if we put Krishna as a center of all our relationships, then only we'll get the complete satisfaction, and then only the relationship will flourish. As in, for example, if we are going to associate with devotees, whereas we indulge in gossiping, criticizing other devotees, then neither we'll get satisfied nor that devotee will get satisfied. We'll hanker for something more. Whereas if Krishna is the center of all the relationships or all our lives, then not only we, but the people around us will also get satisfied. We can see this before the movement. Like when we were before the movement, we used to get constantly disturbed. We used to find new reasons to from where we can extract happiness. But after joining Krishna consciousness, we are fully satisfied because we came to know about Krishna, and he is the source of all satisfaction. If Krishna is satisfied, if we put all our energy to satisfy Krishna, then we ourselves get satisfied, and all other devotees, all other living entities will get satisfied. If I miss any point, so anyone from my group can, they can feel free to add it. Maharaj, if you want to add something.
Maharaj has told that devotees are like swans and non-devotees are like crows. And before coming to Krishna consciousness, we are not very happy. But after coming to Krishna consciousness, after chanting, our life has been changed, become happy. And we are by associating with the swans, swans like devotees, life changed. So these 2 points Maharaj has told. Thank you.
Basically, we also quoted Tadvad Visargo Shlok that, wherever Hari Katha is there, wherever Hari Leela is there, that is the full source of satisfaction. Otherwise, that place is if there's no glories of Krishna discussed, then that place is a place for pilgrimage of crows. So that's how, if Krishna is the center of all relationships, if he's the center of all our activities, we'll get satisfied, because we are aiming to satisfy Krishna, who is which is as similar as putting water in the roots of the trees. If water is there in the roots, if you pour water in the roots, then all the parts of the trees get nourished.
Thank you. We'd like to thank the group number 1 by chanting once Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you for bringing out powerful points. Group number 2, who is going to present from group number 2?
Hare Krishna. So I will be presenting, and I request Madhusudan Vishnu to kindly share the PPT. So basically the question was, we had to identify the Sanskrit and English phrases and statements from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto 5th chapter, text 10 to 15, and understand Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. So this is a short presentation that we have made. So this particular section from the purport where Srila Prabhupada compares crows and swans, they are not of the birds of the same feather flock together. So Prabhupada is quoting that how they have different mental attitudes, so they can't really coexist. So the crows take pleasure in places where garbage is thrown. So even this particular section leads us to the personal application part, which is mentioned at the last of this question. It says that how will you personally apply it? So personally, as devotees, we should stay away from all that is garbage, basically that what is presented on the social media, that which is going around in social circles. So we should stay away from that, and we should get the nectarian Krishna Katha which we have given our life for. So Srila Prabhupada has given this very strong analogy how crows are assembled for conferences and meetings, and the swans, they stay away from this, and they are always busy in the stems of lotus flowers. So this is one point. Then broadcasting the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada is giving the responsibility to every Indian. So those who are born in the country of India or in Bharatavarsha, they must take ahead this message of Bhagavatam. And specifically Prabhupada is making this point because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work. So there is so much quarrel trouble. So basically Prabhupada is pointing out that the reason for Kali Yuga to propagate in this particular age, why is it flourishing so much? Why is it propagating so much? The reason is because Indians are sitting back in their homes and with a polytheistic view, whereas our philosophy preaches monotheism, but basically Hindus understand polytheism, or the followers of Sanatan Dharma, mostly Indians. So therefore, since we have not broadcast this message, therefore Kali Yuga has been able to propagate its effect throughout the world. This is one point. And language is not the barrier. So Prabhupada is saying, he's giving this famous example he would quote oftentimes, that how the victims of the fire, they express themselves. They can do some acting, some mime, some pantomime, they will do something. There is fire in the house, it's an emergency situation. So whether we know the language or not. So for Srila Prabhupada, English being his second language, he claims or he admits the fact that my presentation may not be so perfect, but then the message needs to go through. That is important. So this spirit of cooperation, so Prabhupada is again pointing out this important thing, how spirit of cooperation is needed to spread this message. And then again in text 15 he is talking about the patient suffering from a particular malady. So some things are forbidden for him, so expert physician will not compromise, saying you can do whatever you like, you can eat whatever you want and still you will get cured. No, Prabhupada is not compromising. So the important lesson is that we should be very strict when we are propagating the message, when we are practicing the philosophy ourselves. And then we see humility of Srila Prabhupada, this important mood. He says that one must accept gold even from a filthy place. One must accept a good and qualified wife from an obscure family. So he says, even though my presentation may not be good, again, Prabhupada has chosen such beautiful words, because we see when he says Nashta Prayashu Abhaddeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. So in the word Nityam, Prabhupada gives the word meaning as regularly, although Nityam means continuously. So why does he translate continuously as regularly? Because he shows that even if you can't do it continuously, at least you do it regularly over a period of time, one might come to a stage where he can practice this Krishna Katha continuously. So this reflects the humility of Srila Prabhupada, and this reflects the mood of Srila Prabhupada. How we may not be perfect in our presentation, but still the message is so important that once one is ready to accept it, then his life is glorious. So therefore we should go ahead. And then there is a very great focus. If a slight deviation can create such havoc, what to speak of deliberate expansion of ideas separate from absolute truth. So in India we see this, it's a common practice. People from Sanatan Dharma, Hindu Dharma, they say, oh, so we accept him as our God, so he is our God. Oh, you accept him as your God. So we have this again polytheistic kind of philosophy which is going around. So Prabhupada is saying, no, we should have a focused approach, we cannot deviate. So even a slight deviation will cause a great havoc. So therefore he has set up these milestones with which we can regularly check our path. The Sanskrit words which Prabhupada uses is Viplava. Viplava is revolutionary. Then Abhaddavati. So these words from 11th text, this particular word which Prabhupada says is irregularly composed. See, there might be some problem, there might be something which is lacking. My presentation of the English language, as Prabhupada quotes in the introduction to the Bhagavatam, but still he translates it as irregularly composed. So although there is a composition, but it is irregular. So even though it is irregular, still one has to accept it. Vachas Chitra Padam. So all these words as we see here, this is part of the next verse. I think 14th.
Previous verse, Prabhu. 10.
10th.
Ten.
Right. Chitrapadam. So he says decorative. So all the words which are decorative. So decorative means it gives us an idea of alankar, of jewelry. So these words, they are actually decorating the personality of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why they define him, they glorify him. Then these words as have been used, Naishkarmyam, Appe, Achyuta Bhava Varjitam, and Shinvanti Gayanti Ghananti Sadhava. How they accept, how they realize, and how they spread the good word around. So basically we were able to come up with this. And the last part, as mentioned in the question, the personal application of this. So basically the personal application is we do not get into the nonsense as has been presented over the social media. Even as devotees, sometimes we tend to get swayed away by popular themes which are going on around in the country. So we should not miss our goal. We should be very focused, and we should not compromise in presenting the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Someone from our team can add whatever I left or I missed out.
Prabhuji, you both did the maximum which we can add up to. So I don't think there's anything left to add.
Hare Hare. So we'd like to thank group number 2 also by chanting once. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
So since a lot of senior devotees are there, so I would request that maybe again group number 1, 2 devotees, they can answer few of my questions. So from group number 1, like devotees were talking about being Krishna centered, and then if we are Krishna centered, then we become very happy. So because we are senior devotees sitting here, we can just ask. We still find that despite being Krishna centered and society is pretty Krishna centered, we do find sometimes there are dissensions, fights, quarrels among devotees. So much so sometimes devotees move here and there. So then, is it impractical to expect that devotees can stay together? Or is it that we are not Krishna centered, that's why all these quarrels are happening? So is it just a theoretical point that we are Krishna centered and everything will be all right? Or is it something practical which can really happen? But then when new people come, we tell them that we are Krishna centered and then everything will be okay. But then we do find actually that there are certain times quarrels and dissensions are there. So what is the exact cause, and what are the remedies, or our expectation is impractical? Maybe some devotees can comment on that from group number 1. Very senior devotees, excellent devotees are there. Premananda Bhutanath.
If you tell very senior devotees, then nobody will speak.
Yes, Maharaj.
If you tell very senior devotees to speak, then nobody will speak.
Okay. I know senior devotees don't consider themselves senior, so devotees from group number 1 can speak.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Prabhuji, though we all are practicing Krishna consciousness, still sometimes difference of opinions are coming. Because we all are conditioned. Sometimes we speak very nice, sometimes not that, and sometimes in mixed conditions. So because we are conditioned, sometimes misunderstanding that leads to mild fight or something. Number 1. Number 2, had we not been Krishna consciousness, then fight would have been, the resultant of the fight must have been very big, but we are getting a very little. So still we are safe.
Thank you. Yes, Maharaj, you like to speak?
Yeah, we have seen this is it is written in the scripture, and we have seen so many examples also. Those are nice devotees, they have no problem. So if medicine is working, some people and some people not working, not is a problem of the medicine, is a problem with the patient who is not taking, who is taking. And actually, why the disagreement? Our Acharya said, actually, when somebody follow four regulative principles, Kohli cannot enter. So now Kohli will try to enter through quarrel. So that is a Kohli's arrangement. So this is the last scenario of Kohli. Kohli want to enter through that disagreement. So there is no doubt about the statement. If there is dissatisfaction, that means Kohli has entered. We should be cautious about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, I think we can take two more questions and I can ask something else also. Okay, yes, Dhruti Gopi Mataji. You have to.
Yes, Pradeep. Pradeep, so what I feel is that sometimes between devotees, the quarrel is there. It's not because we are not like, it's not, of course, there is some lack of Krishna consciousness as well, but it's basically because of difference of individuality. And which is fine because we all have our different individuality, and it's not, we are not meant to whitewash everything as spiritual. We are meant to have different individuality even in spiritual realm. So being Krishna conscious actually means that, you know, whenever there is service of Lord, we put behind those individuality and sanskars of ours and we come together to serve. For example, like we can say when Gauridas Pandit and Hriday Chaitanya were there, so there was, you know, Gauridas Pandit, he felt that because, you know, Hriday Chaitanya being his disciple, he had organized a separate Gaur Punya festival, whereas Hriday Chaitanya wanted to serve. But ultimately, you know, they both put it behind and came together for the service of Lord. So we might have different individualities, and due to which there might be some quarrel. Like we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there were some spiritualists who were very you know, he used to get angry. We can see the pastime of Shivanand Sen, Nityanand Prabhu kicked Shivanand Sen, and we see then Krishnadas Kaviraj explaining that, you know, basically the mercy of Nitai can be seen when he is angry, because by that, if he's getting angry, he's basically showering mercy. So being Krishna consciousness doesn't mean there won't be any quarrel. It just means that we put those quarrel behind us, we put our individuality and come together to serve.
Thank you. You said there can be opinions, but when Krishna is center, then we do arrangement. Yes, Devdatta Dhanandatta.
Okay. Really, the one thing is that as Prabhupada says that he did not deviate from his Guru instructions for inch also. Meaning, if we follow our Guru instructions very sincerely and seriously, then there will not be any quarrel in this world. So, although we say that we are ISKCON, we are following the principles, we are chanting 16 rounds, but all these 6 anarthas what we have in the body are still there to some extent. Like for instance, the last one is the jealousy. Although among the various words we say that, so if some brother is going above up, then we have a feeling that he's going up, so I'm down. So the various things happen. So basically, if you, I will say only Guru, if you follow it seriously, then this problem will not arise. So very sincere about following Guru instructions very clearly. Is what I.
Because of anarthas, you have dissensions. If you follow Guru's instruction, then there won't be any dissension.
Yes.
Yes, Radha.
So, Prabhu, I basically thought of the analogy of how Prabhupada said when there is one center and you throw stones there, so there are ripples which come out and all the ripples are concentric. So, a difference in opinion can be seen like that. Krishna is the center, but now different people might be on different circles. So, maybe we count this as differences, although center is Krishna. So, different people might be on different topics altogether, and they might be fighting over the unity of the topic itself, although both of them want to satisfy Krishna. So this is on one level. Now if we take it to another level, if we add the height, the dimension of the height also, that depending on the level of Krishna consciousness, whether one is Kanishtha, Madhyama or Uttama, so in the same circle one might be on a different height, different altitude altogether. So maybe we call this as the difference, although it is Krishna centered. Maybe Maharaj can correct if I am wrong. I just thought of this analogy.
aim is same, but objectives are different. That is a fight.
Thank you. So in spiritual world also you see that example of two very famous personalities who were very close to Krishna. They have strong difference in opinion, but they dance in the same rasa dance along with Krishna. Chandravali and
Left
Radharani.
finger.
Yes, left wing and right wing. Yes. Thank you.
So Chandravali and
Radharani. Chandravali and Radharani, they have difference in opinion.
okay, thank you.
And they're quite a rivalry. So I just heard one statement from Janana Vastu. So it's like that was quite enlivening in this regard. So he was saying that if Krishna enjoys seeing heart in the envy of a devotee, devotee is ready for that. So Radharani and Chandravali, they have quite a difference in opinion and they have quite a competitive environment. But because Krishna is satisfied by seeing that envy within them for each other, they have it. So whatever they required for Krishna satisfaction, devotees do it, and then they make adjustment whenever it is required. And that is how there can be difference in opinion, at the same time we can adjust. Yes, Chaitanya Haripur.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. From my own analyzing and practicing in Krishna consciousness, there's two things I think cause all these issues in ISKCON. Basically, one is that we are knowingly or unknowingly sometimes we are doing offenses to devotees, even though they can be a very junior, very new devotees or just coming. So that's one thing I see. And this is also due to the, because of that, our chanting is being affected. When our chanting is not properly done, so because Prabhupada emphasized that we have to chant 16 rounds, but at the same time, he also told us that we also have to increase the quality of the chanting. So the combination of these two things, I think that's causing a lot of impediment in our society, even though all of us are trying to serve Krishna, like just now somebody was saying, in different ways and different mood. But because of these small things that we don't notice clearly, that I think one of the reason that we can see there's a lot of clashes with devotees, even for nothing, actually. Hare Krishna, that's my humble opinion.
Thank you. So was talking about the principle of not offending. Amani na mani. Devotee respect everyone, even new devotee. Okay. Thank you. Group number 1 had very interesting. Now, group number 2, I have question from group number 2. So, devotees were talking about, speaking about strong message and direct message. But then, we find many devotees are there who do a bridge preaching. I think some devotees had some opinions about bridge preaching also. I heard when I entered in the group. And they are making good number of devotees also. So they may not be speaking very strong message and direct message initially, but they are pretty successful in making 16 rounder good devotees in due course of time. So how much should the bridge preaching be allowed, not allowed, or devotees can comment on that? Just raise your hands and speak.
Well, preaching, Prabhupada said preaching is the essence. So when we go for preaching, we definitely need to speak from the Shastras and state the Shastras. But then there are people who don't like the कहते हैं ना कि कड़वी दवा किसी को अच्छी नहीं लगती. So they don't like the complete message from the Shastra. So we need to sugarcoat it in a way and then only do preaching. Otherwise, people feel that it's a very strict environment and we need to live this, we need to live that. So we need to offer the whole thing as a package where we say that, okay, it's when we do preaching, it's a process, like, you know, we need to tell him to, we know that he has to step a lot of steps to come to a basic level, but then we don't tell him the whole thing in one go. Slowly and gradually we tell him the whole thing. So I feel that we need to take a balanced approach in this.
Thank you. Slowly grow the people. Yes, Radha Patre.
So Prabhuji, as has been given in the even in the scriptures, we see Narad Muni when he was preaching. So he would preach differently to a different audience. So it is not that the same message can go through everywhere. When we see Narad Muni preaching to Mrigari, so he says that you kill them fully, don't half kill them. So if someone takes out that particular shloka and says, you see, Narad Muni is also telling to kill and you are stopping us from killing. But that is not the essence. The essence is because Mrigari is used to killing. So instead of half killing and giving them more miseries and troubles, he is saying to kill them fully. Now the same Narad Muni, when he speaks to Dhruva Maharaj, he speaks differently. But the same Narad Muni, when he speaks to Prahlad Maharaj, he is much more stricter in his approach. So we are always making bridges, building bridges. It is bridging the gap. So it is not that we can say this particular kind of preaching is not good or this is the only way to preach, because it depends on the audience. So basically we analyze the audience first and then we get into a particular mode of preaching. Now some mood of preaching may be desirable for a certain kind of audience and certain mood may not be good for them. So it depends on the audience. So basically those who are doing bridge preaching, it is not that they are not presenting the philosophy as it is. They are presenting it in a easy to digest way, and as time goes on, as the audience grow, then they themselves get to read the more straightforward messages from Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's my humble understanding. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. Different teaching for different audience. Yes, Dhananjay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So here, what we feel that from the time of Srila Prabhupada, when he was almost a lone warrior, so that time very quickly he was bringing people in a preaching service without much knowledge about the scriptures and all. So because he wanted to create a surcharge atmosphere, and besides that he wanted to spread the ISKCON and the organizations across the world on the basis of the books and there's access to the masses. But over a period, like we see that this is almost more than 50 years down the line, things have changed. Like already ISKCON as an organization and is there. Now at this stage, when we do that, people get into it, and like you join the ISKCON today and tomorrow, while you are at a very beginning stages, your faith is or concept is not clear, and straight away next day he has put in the field, and that has got a lot of ill effect, because when we say that Kanishta Adhikari, when his faith is not as strong, and at the same time when he goes to the preaching, so a lot of wrong concept, wrong belief is being said. So at this stage, probably we should have a kind of a system where we go for quality preaching rather than developing the quantity, because even in India now we are in nearly 200 plus districts, and we have a very aggressive approach that in next 2 years, we want to be present in all the districts, like almost 2.5 times growth across the country. So this is more like a salesman approach. And if we are going with that concept, then definitely quality is going to get affected. There will be a lot of chaos which is going to be created, and which earlier in our discussion, which you already mentioned, and that lot of argument, lot of quarrel and aggressions which is bound to come in, and which will have a definitely a lot of negative impact as well. Wrong concept it is being delivered, and that is going to impact the name of the society as well. So probably at this stage we have to have a very structured systems where until unless people are qualified enough, they are not they should not be sent in the field, and only this at least Madhyama Adhikari are with a good grasp of scriptural knowledge which can be spread in. Like Prabhuji has mentioned that Narad Muni. Now Narad Muni is if you have a preacher like Maharaj ji and all the senior devotees, if they are there, then it is bound to go smoothly. But what is happening across the world, that you join the society today and tomorrow you are in a field going for preaching. So probably those are the things, activities which is required to be contained. Hare Krishna.
So you are saying that Madhyama Adhikari should preach, and training and education. We should train the devotees, not just preach. Thank you. So for bringing the brilliant points. Yes, Manish.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, text 11 itself says that though not perfectly composed. So the words may not be perfectly composed as per the scriptures, but it should glorify the name of the Lord, and it should glorify, and it should also be receptive to the people should receive it. So though not perfectly composed, but still the glories of the Lord is being reached, or is being delivered, or is being propagated properly as per the receptiveness of the audience. Then even if it is not perfectly composed as per the as per the message, or as per the scriptures, but still if it is glorifying Lord, and if it is receptive to the audience, then as per text 11, it is still destroying the sin of the people.
Thank you. So you're talking more about not delivering it properly. So certainly, so we can do bridge preaching. That is what we understand from devotees. But people should cross the bridge. They should not go other side of the bridge. That we have to be careful about. And if we have training, good training and education for the devotees, then certainly people can slowly progress. It's like you can't expect a toddler to run. You have to teach him to stand up and walk. But at the same time, a person child who is now 10 years old, you can't expect him to sit at one place and expect parents would carry him from one place to another place on the left. So one should progress in spiritual life. Thank you. Thank you for bringing brilliant points. I also could learn a lot of things. And yeah. So now we can take question. Parth Sarthi Mataji had a question.
Just quickly before we move on from a point that you made last week, can you hear me?
Yes.
You were talking about Vyasadev's, how Narada Muni was encouraging Vyasadeva to apply himself directly to devotional service. And you said that only a Vairagya can perform Yukta Vairagya. So I was wondering if you could explain that point, because you're saying it in relation to the fact that Narada Muni wanted Vyasadeva, or he was encouraging direct devotional service as instead of performing Yukta Vairagya.
Yeah. So now I was speaking about only if you have Vairagya, then we talk about Yukta Vairagya. What it means is that basically we should not do the sense gratification in the name of Krishna consciousness. So the goal has to be very clear So we can be attached to sense gratification, but at least we should desire to become detached from that. So that is what I meant. It's like one can have material desires. Despite having material desires, one can practice pure devotion service, provides one doesn't want to maintain those material desires. Like we have the famous prayer by Prahlad Maharaj. Yadi dasa me kaman varam samvardar sabha kamanam hit samroham bhaktastu vernivara. My dear Lord, you are Vardar Sabha, you are best of the benedictors. And if you want to give me some benediction, please give me benediction that I can get rid of material desires. So if you have that mood, that attitude is there, so then whatever propensities are there, whatever needs are there, we can doubt them in Krishna consciousness. But we should not continue to enjoy sense gratification in the name of Krishna consciousness. That's something which is detrimental. So vairagya means we should have a desire to give up sense gratification. That's meaning of vairagya. Because vairagya is not just external, it's internal. That's the exact definition of vairagya. And yukta vairagya means that we can engage things in Krishna's service.
Yeah.
So, but we can engage things in Krishna's service only when we don't want to use them for our own service. We don't want to use them for our own sense gratification. So only then that's possible, because yukta vairagya or vairagya, both of them are more on a subtle platform than just gross platform. So the internal desire to not enjoy and serve Krishna is yukta vairagya, which has vairagya within it. Vairagya means not desiring to enjoy. Yukta means using it for Krishna service and using it for pleasing Krishna senses. So both of them are inculcated in yukta vairagya.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Premananda Gopinath.
Puja, I have a doubt or a question. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 41, purport, Prabhupada says, Srimad Bhagavatam should therefore be received from the representative of Sukadev, who must be in the renounced order of life without any family inheritance. In text 44 in the purport, Prabhupada says, no one can learn Srimad Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. And in Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 8, purport, therefore, Sukadeva Goswami is an ideal preacher established in the transcendental position. So, where from we should be hearing Srimad Bhagavatam topics from?
Okay. So,
compulsorily one should be renounced order or brahmachari or grihastha, who can be?
So as far as we see how Prabhupada engages his devotees, he engaged all brahmacharis, grihasthas, everyone to preach. Rather, he sent 3 couples to London to preach. The place where sannyasi disciples of Bhakti Saraswati were not successful. 3 grihastha couples went to London and they were successful. And Prabhupada was pretty proud about that. So what we understand, the exact meaning of vairagya, even from Bhagavad Gita, is more of an internal desire to not enjoy sense gratification. It's not just an external dress. It's not just some renounced order as such. So renounced order or a particular situation may help a person, but ultimately whether it is brahmachari or grihastha, each one of us have to endeavor to get rid of this desire for sense gratification. Mahaprabhu Bhaktagan Vairagya Pradhan Jahan Dekhi Preeti Hoy Gaur Bhagat. So all Mahaprabhu's bhaktas, whether they're brahmacharis or grihasthas, they're Vairagya Pradhan. They all have a desire to give up sense gratification. And when Mahaprabhu sees that all these devotees have that desire to give up sense gratification, he becomes happy. None of the brahmacharis have the courage to have a mood of renunciation like Srivas Thakur or Ramananda Rai. We can't even imagine to become like Ramananda Rai. Would massage the ladies and yet not get agitated. We can't even imagine that. We can't imagine us to become like Srivas Thakur, whose son died and he didn't want it dance of Mahaprabhu to get disturbed. For us, I'm practically a brahmachari. I know that people whom I do follow up and preach, when they go away, I feel sad. I feel very disturbed. I become attached. That's more of an internal development than just external development.
So the person who is having renounced order within him, he must be preaching.
Yeah, that means he should have a desire to please Krishna and not enjoy sense gratification. When we preach for sense gratification, that preaching won't work. When we desire to please Krishna, then preaching will work. Thank you. Yes, Manish.
In the text 16, before 16, it was text 15 in which it is said that people in general inclined to enjoy. And then in text 17, directly, Narmi says that only expert personality retired from activities of the material happiness deserve to understand this knowledge. So I just wanted to confirm that is this knowledge is the essence of Vedas, which normally people cannot understand. So only the people who deserves to understand the knowledge of spiritual values and are experts can only take the essence of this knowledge is the essence of the Vedas. That's why he's telling to propagate Bhagavatam to the normal people because they cannot take the essence. Is that the understanding?
Yeah. See, essence of scriptures, when we say it's bhakti. It's the essence of knowledge. Because knowledge to enjoy sense gratification is not knowledge. Like Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda ultimately focuses on sense gratification. Then that cannot be called the essence of knowledge. Essence of knowledge is that desire to please Krishna. Prema pumarto mahan. Atmendra vancha tarbalekam. Krishna in the Kritiksha Dhare. The knowledge teaches us to please Krishna's senses and not enjoy one's own senses. That's the essence. Knowledge.
Thank you.
That's in line with the verses which we went through. That makes more sense. Okay, so now we'll move on. So we had good discussions. Now we'll go to text number 17. Just a minute. So we had done 10, 1.5.16. Can repeat after me. Yakta sadharmam taranam bhujam hare. Bhajan pakko vatpate tato yadi.
Bhajan apakko atha pate tato yadi.
Yatrpava badram abhudamusya kim.
Yatra bhadram abodmusya kim.
Ko va tapto abhajatam swadharmatah. Please read the translation and purport also.
Translation: one who has forsaken his material occupation to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Purport: as far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty bound not only to his parents, family members, society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc., but also to the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the service of the Lord. So, if one does so and becomes successful, in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiments, and in the long run, due to some many other reasons, he fall down from the path of service by undesirable association. There are so many instances of this in the histories. Bharat Maharaj was obliged to take his birth as a stag due to his intimate attachment to a stag. He thought of this stag when he died. As such, in the next birth, he became a stag, although he did not forget the incidents of his previous birth. Similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to his offenses at the feet of Shiva. But in spite of all this, the stress is given here to surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord, even if there is a chance of falling down, because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of devotional service, he will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. Once engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous position. There are many instances of such examples in history. Ajamil is one of them. Ajamil in his early life was a devotee, but in youth he fell down. Still, he was saved by the Lord at the end. Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare. Which verse of Bhagavad Gita speaks about it? What's that verse? That can explain that. Yeah, Prate mein to bhayat. And what is the greatest danger?
To come in and be like,
Death.
Falling from into the lower species.
yes.
And Prabhupada in the beginning of the purports, he talks about one is duty bound. And then what is the verse which talks about that there are new duties if you surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna? Yeah. Yes, thank you. Na kinkaro nayam nirni charajan sarvatmanam saranam saranam. So one who has taken the lotus shelter of the lotus feet of the Krishna, he doesn't have Dev rent, Pitra rent, any of these rent. Otherwise, one has all these rent. One has all these debts over. So it's what Prabhupada talks about. Yes, Diksha Mataji.
Basically, I wanted to ask in this regard one question. So may I ask now or later?
Maybe what I'll do, I'll just share some more points and then you can ask just after this question. So now we find in Bhagavad Gita also, 3rd chapter, Krishna speaks, Na buddhi vedam janiyeda jnanam karma sangitam yojit sarva karmani vidwan yukta samachara. That a wise man should not disturb the ignorant who is attached to the results of work. Rather, engaging all work himself with detachment, one should engage them in activity. So there Krishna said, don't disturb. And here it seems Narada Muni is saying that no, even if let us say a person gives up his duties and falls down, there is no loss. So how do we accommodate both the things? Somebody would like to answer.
So if he falls down, so Suchinang Srimatam Gehe Yoga Vijaya. So there is no loss. Again, he'll be getting a chance in the next life. From where he has left, he will continue in the devotional life.
Yeah, but Krishna says that in 3.26 that one should not disturb. Don't disturb the person who is very attached. Okay, Manish Sohanpur.
It was written that for a person on path of purification, Nishkam Karma Yoga is given. but who knows the highest good will never instruct to engage in material enjoyment. So one who is in the path of purification will be given the Nishkam Karma Yoga, and that would apply to him. Yojit Sarv Karmani. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Rati Prada Radhika Madhurika Masukti.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe Krishna is talking about persons who are not yet devotees and they are involved in material life, and so we should not disturb them. But Narad Muni is talking about persons who have already taken up devotional life, but then there is a fall down after that. So they have, by their personal interest, they have taken the devotional life. So after that, if there is a fall down, still there is no loss for them. That is what Narad Muni is.
In line. Yes, Vishnu Kantamate.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, devotees of Krishna are more merciful than Krishna. So Krishna is saying not to disturb, but devotees like Narad Muni, he is saying like we should do teaching to all, from down or whatever, at whatever level the person is.
Krishna saying don't disturb, but devotees are most of the saying disturb. Yes.
But they are more merciful than Krishna is.
Thank you. So basically there, Krishna was talking about someone who is taking to the path of Gyan in Bhagavad Gita. So person who is on the path of karma, don't disturb him and bring him to the path of Gyan, because if he is not qualified, he will fall down. But as far as bhakti is concerned, there's no qualification required. There's no qualification required. That's why you can disturb anyone, give him bhakti. At the same time, so there is no loss in the sense that at least he has made some progress in bhakti, on the path of bhakti. So that's one point. So there's no qualification required. And also, through bhakti, one's progress is very fast. Whereas somebody takes to path of Gyan, which is not qualified, one doesn't progress, rather one degrades. There's a risk. So that's why anybody can be given bhakti, even if it is disturbing him. But whereas Gyan and other things, because they need qualification, they can't be given to anyone and everyone. So that's a difference between disturbing people for other processes and disturbing people for accepting bhakti. So that's exactly what this point is made by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his purport. And that's why I mentioned here that so there's a difference between disturbing people for bhakti and for other processes. So there Krishna is talking about people who can be disturbed when they're on karma, practicing karma, and you want to take them to Gyan. So Krishna said, don't disturb. Let them become qualified, then they will accept the law. So there's a difference. That's why both the things are in line. There's no difference between both of them. And also, let's follow the. Yeah. So as far as bhakti is concerned, there's no loss. So that's why we can disturb. So main thing is, even if a person is very nicely practicing on the path of karma, maximum he can make a progress to go to Swargaloka or get liberation. Whereas somebody makes a little bit progress on the path of bhakti, that is like something eternal. And gradually person will keep on progressing, and finally he will achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. That's why devotees don't have to worry much. So Krishna also speaks another verse in 11th canto. Tavat parvani purvita nandarvidya yavata mat katha shravanaduva shraddha yavanna jayate. Till one develops shraddha for my Shravan Kirtan, for hearing and chanting about me, one can carefully keep on practicing other things. As soon as one develops Shraddha for Shravanam Kirtan, then one doesn't have to worry so much. So for him, practice of Varnasana becomes secondary, practice of Bhakti becomes primary. Whereas in all other processes, practice of Varnasana is pretty important. That's the basis. For devotees, they take shelter of Varnasana till it supports them. So it is a difference. Irati Prada Mataji, have something more? Or it's hand raised from before? Fine. Somebody had a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my voice is audible?
It's audible, yes.
Yes, Prabhuji, I wanted to ask, like, in this verse, like, how to understand that when we have to go through so many, like, when we are practicing Varnashram Dharma, at the same time we have to follow like Shraddh ceremonies and everything. So for a devotee, like you mentioned that Mukunda, one who has taken shelter of Mukunda, need not. So just wanted to clarify, because in Bhagavad Gita also, like during the Varnashram Dharma topic, I had this doubt. So wanted to clear it here if possible.
Okay. So devotees practice Varnashram for two reasons. One is in general because we have a gross and subtle body, and we need gross and subtle body for progressing the spiritual life. That's why we practice Varnashram. And second reason is in order to also set an example, we do follow certain ceremonies. So we do find Nrsimhadev, after instructing Prahlad Maharaj or telling Prahlad Maharaj, my dear Prahlad, what to say of your father, his own father, 21 generations are liberated. And after that, he himself says to Prahlad Maharaj that, my dear Prahlad, please perform this ceremony of Shraddha. So that if you find in the purport, currently I don't have the reference because I'm not in my room, I'm here in some other place due to Rath Yatra. So there, Prabhupada writes that in the purport that for a devotee, he doesn't need Shraddha ceremony. But one may do it just to set an example for others. So that people who are not devotees, they may become inspired and continue doing the Varnashram system. So there can be two reasons. One is it should be supported to the devotion service. And second one is to set an example for others. Does it answer a question, Martin?
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, how does it support our devotional service? Like you had mentioned that we have gross and subtle body. Like, can you just elaborate?
Yeah, yes, very simple thing. Like for example, for any household lady, Varnashram system is duties of mother, duties of wife, etc. So if we don't follow our duties towards husband, children, or if somebody is unmarried girl towards her parents properly, then certainly they will create trouble in your spiritual life. Or family bondage won't be proper. It will break apart. It breaks apart because we are sentient being, it affects us. Like just because we are chanting Hare Krishna doesn't mean we stop eating. Just because we are chanting Hare Krishna doesn't mean we stop brushing or taking bath. Similarly, being sentient beings, being a social person, we do need the support of other family members in order to practice Krishna consciousness. So that is how it helps in our progress of Krishna consciousness. At the same time, if somebody too much focuses on these things while keeping bhakti in background, then such a family life may become an impediment. So that's why bhakti has to be primary, and all of these things have to be secondary. Let me, the focus should be that I want to get Krishna prema. I want to get love for God. And whatever is required for that, I'll do it. So we need to maintain our gross body by sleeping in time, getting up time, eating in time. Similarly, we also need social relationships in order to have our peace of mind so that we can practice Krishna. Okay, then answer a question.
Yes, for sure. And Prabhuji, by the meaning of the Shraddh ceremonies and the any other ceremonies like the Antyeshta ceremonies, like if we perform with a conscious in our heart that we want, like when certain Puranas are read, like Garud Puran at the time of death of a person. So at that time we should try to read Bhagavatam. Matlab, I am just trying to connect that we have to connect everything to Krishna, even if we are setting an example.
See, Garud Puran is Puran mode of goodness, and we can hear Garud Puran. But that doesn't mean that every time we keep on hearing Garud Puran only. And regularly we do Nityam Bhagavad Sevya. Other times we can hear Garud Puran. I personally have read Garud Puran and heard Garud Puran. That's a culture of North India, and there is nothing wrong in hearing Garud Puran. So during Shraddha ceremony, we can hear Garud Puran also. You get more knowledge. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Radha Patra.
Prabhuji, this Shraddha ceremony, I mean, we do it once and the ancestor gets Vishnu Prasadam and he's delivered. Why do we repeat it every year? I asked this to many devotees, somehow my doubt was not clarified.
Okay. So, doing it every year, it has more of a karma kanda reason. And I think so devotees will not be very happy to hear it, but still I'll speak it. I have some understanding of it. So there's one ceremony which is performed at the end when the person dies. And then we have Pindadan. Pindadan is something regularly which people do. So Pindadan is done for the purpose of gratifying the senses of the ancestors who are there in Pitraloka. Till we do Pindadan there, they can gratify the senses in Pitraloka. And when their senses are gratified, they give blessings in return. And that is how the whole family flourishes. So that's the main reason why people perform Pindadan. From that point of view, it may not be very appealing to devotees, but for outsiders, it's very important. That's why people who don't do Pindadan properly, they don't do this Shraddha ceremony properly, generally then they get Pitrados. And then they have mental problems in the next life. So all these troubles come. So it has more to do with karma kanda than actually speaking out Krishna consciousness. That's why for devotees, especially who are grastas, they may once in a year do some pinda or something, but collect all the relatives and chant Hare Krishna. Just do it as a duty, just to please the relatives and keep the peaceful atmosphere. So that people don't say that just because you have become a devotee, of stop doing this pinda. But for devotees, it's not important, not required. Yes, Premanand Bhupan.
Prabhuji, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tasmat Sastram Pramanam Te Karcha Akarcha Vivastito. Jantva Sastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartum Iha. So one should be knowing what to be done, what not to be done. According to Shastra, one should be doing. So it's mentioned in the Shastra, we should be doing Pindadana, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself did. Sri Ramchandra ji also did at Gaya. Sita Devi did at Gaya. So Pindadana ceremony is coming through these ancestors in a sequential manner. So if we will be following that, because we are in ISKCON, we are Krishna Bhakta, so we will not be doing this. So Shastra Vidhanoktam. So it has been mentioned in the Shastras. So how will I understand this?
So we talk about Mahaprabhu did a Shraddha ceremony rather than doing Pindadan. What we say Shraddha, it's like at the end of. The Prabhu was talking more of a yearly ceremony, like was it performed yearly. So yearly it may not be required, but one should do it like at least at the end of the life. That's given in the scriptures, and that is how we find. So there are different scriptures. There are karma kind shastras are there. Then there are.
Hold on. It was yearly not required at the end of the life, meaning.
So when a person dies, that time we perform a ceremony. That's called Shraddha ceremony.
Okay.
And something which is done yearly during Pitra Paksha. Every year people do it.
Pitra Paksha.
So that may not be required because we don't find Mahaprabhu doing it every year. We do find it Mahaprabhu doing at the end when his father departed. Similarly, we find Ramchandra doing it when his father departed. Similarly, we see Narsimhadev instructing Prahlad Maharaj when his father departed. But within the Vaishnava circle, we don't see that they do it yearly. And at the end of life, certainly it has a meaning because a person doesn't have a gross body, he gets a gross body by taking Vishnu Prasad. But the one which is performed yearly, it is done more for gratifying the senses of the ancestors. The difference between both.
And if the father or the ancestor will be a Vaishnava,
if they are Vaishnava, they're not required. But
like
when
we are
we
doing for Srila Prabhupada, like we are remembering so many devotees, Vaishnava devotees.
we may do it. We may do it so to set an example, like following the footsteps of previous acharyas, you can do it. So that's what I'm saying. Best thing is Mahajano Yen Gata Sapatta. Whatever our previous acharyas have been doing, we can just continue. That's very safe. So what we see from previous acharyas is they have been doing it at the end of somebody's departure, but not like yearly. And something which we do for like Bhishma Dev and other places, it's like more of a Vaishnavas only. It has more to do with Vishnu than to do with the demigods. But yearly one is more to do with the karma. Now for Grastas, if there is some family pressure, they may do it. But then the purpose would be clear. I'm doing it just to keep them happy. The purpose is not that no, I have faith in them. Yes, Kamala Mati.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I just wanted to know, like you said, Pitraloka. How do you know the ancestors are in Pitraloka? Like they may be liberated or they may be taking another birth. Like how do we know the ancestors are in Pitraloka?
So some ancestors may be in Pitraloka. What I understand from Garuda Puran, because I'm from that culture, we had a strong Karmakanda culture in our home. It's like, no, we always followed 4 days very strictly from childhood. But strong Karmakandi background is there for me. So what I understand from Pitraloka is more of it's like a waiting room in a railway station. So
and what is
Pitraloka is next to Samyami, which is the capital of Yamraj. And it's like more of a waiting room. Till you gratify the senses of the Pitris, they enjoy that. Once the gratification stops, they have to be present in front of Yamraj, and then the judgment is done. So this is pre-judgment gratification.
Oh,
that's what I understand.
So they're not liberated still, and they're still waiting for the judgment of Yamraj, like those people are in Pitraloka?
Yes, yes. And they will continue gratifying their senses there, but the result is that they will give you gratification in return. So the family presses in wealth and
how to liberate liberate such souls, like
chant Hare Krishna. Very simple.
So if you chant Hare Krishna, read Bhagavatam, they will automatically.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's sad.
No. See, for those who are not devotees, very important. But those who are not devotees, like sense gratification is everything. So it's very important for them, but not for devotees.
What about if some people don't have sons? What is their state? Like they cannot, it's the daughters usually don't do the Shraddha ceremony and all that. Yes, and if people don't have sons, what is their fate after death?
I would answer this question and we'll stop there, because this is very interesting topics and they're relating astray. But within Manu Samhita, we find it's not that only son has to do it. So there are provisions. So I don't exactly remember the sequence, but the whole sequence is given. If son cannot do it, then eldest son should do it. If he cannot do, then youngest son should do it. If he cannot do, then no, middle sons can do it. If they cannot do, then daughter can do it. If they cannot do, then one doesn't have a child, then some neighbor can do it. So there are different provisions beside it. It's not so strict the way it is presented. Only son has to do.
Okay, so this can be found in Manu Samhita.
Manu Smriti, Manu Samhita. Dharma Shastras, they give all these details.
Thank you very much.
Prabhuji, added to this point, one Mataji was there in ISKCON Bulla. So she's a doctor. She does not have brothers or sisters. She does not have parents. And every year she used to do Bhagavad Saptah. Every year. On the parents and the father's death anniversary, the mother's death anniversary. She does Bhagavad Saptah. So that also the ancestors can be liberated.
Yeah. Main thing is we chant Hare Krishna, read Bhagavatam, spread Bhagavatam. We don't have to worry so much. So if we take care of Krishna, Krishna will take care of everything. That's the main for us. So we just have to worry about Anukula Sankarpa, Patikula Svaja. Whatever is favorable for Krishna consciousness, we do it. Whatever is not favorable, we avoid. And this question is, this verse is going to answer all these things. Tasya heto prayate tako vido.
तस्यैव हेतो प्रयतेत कोविदो
Na labhyate yad brahmatam upari yadha.
Na labhyate yad brahmatam upari adha.
लभ्यते यद् ब्रह्मतां परियदा
Tallabhyate dukkhavat annata sukham.
Tatlabhyate dukkhavat annatha sukham.
Kalena sarvatra kabira ramhasa.
कालेन सर्वत्र कबीरब्रह्मश्च.
Please read the translation.
Persons who are actually intelligent.
Please continue.
Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patal. As far as happiness is right from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them.
Yeah. There is some
purpose.
Yeah, not required. Actually, it's a very long purport, and I'll just explain it because we are going a little bit behind time. So something which cannot be obtained from lowest planet to the highest planet, once try to aim at that particular goal. Because as far as sense gratification is concerned, it's available everywhere. Only the quality of sense gratification may be different. There is similar verse spoken by some other devotee.
Prahlad Maharaj has told.
What did he say? What does he say?
As we are not desiring to get unhappiness, but still it comes. So likewise, the happiness automatically will be coming. But we need not to special endeavor to get that. We should rather endeavor for Krishna consciousness.
Sukham mandrikam datta dehe yogena dehina sarvatra labhate devat yatha dukkha ayatantaha. So like by devad, by one's own fortune or misfortune, one automatically gets misery. One doesn't pray for it. One doesn't go to the Lord and says, my dear Lord, I am being healthy since such a long time. Corona is going on, let me get some corona. Or I have been getting a lot of profits in my business in such a long time, let me have some losses. Still losses are come, still we get diseases. Similarly, one doesn't have to endeavor very hard for sense gratification also, it will automatically come. Rather, one should spend one's time for practicing Krishna consciousness and progressing in the spiritual life. And that will bring end to all the miseries. So that is how this particular verse says that one should work for that transcendental goal. And whatever is required for that, one should do that. That's why I was speaking that for devotee, bhakti is primary and varnasana becomes secondary. Whatever is required for one's progression in bhakti, one can do that. Whatever is required. Prabhupada would say do the needful. So this is also beautiful verse. Two devotees raise their hands. Okay, Kamala Mataji.
No, I don't. Sorry, Prabhu. I didn't. I don't know.
So you
by
didn't
mistake.
get
I will.
Yeah. Yes,
By mistake.
Manish?
Really, what is the meaning of Gabhir Ranhasa? Because in the translation, it says that subtle progress. So is it related to the Kalen, which is the time? The time is subtle and it runs fast. That is derived from this meaning. So what is the meaning of Gabhir Ranhasa?
Tasya heto paritet kovido na labhate brahmatam upariyada up and down. Tallabati dukhat amrita sukham. Kalena sarvat gabhir ramhasa. So you can just tell the meaning of what Prabhupada writes about ramhasa.
Progress.
Progress. So subtle progress. So kalena
Subtle
sarvat.
progress.
Yes. So tallabati dukhat amrita sukham. Okay. Kalena sarvatra gabhir ramhasa. So subtle progress. So this progress, tasya hetu pratit povida. So those who are povida, they work for that hetu, na labhyate yad brahmityam, which you don't get from wandering from up and down. Tal labhyate dukkha anarasukam. Because as the dukh comes, sukh will also come. Kalena sarvatra gabhir ramhasa. And in due course of time, so there is a subtle progress. So what I understand is subtle progress is more talking about
as the time progresses, as the time goes on, one gets happiness and the distress with respect to time.
So this yes. So this progress, exactly this is what I wanted to say. It's more talking about sense gratification. In due course of time, what happens is suddenly one doesn't see that the miseries are going to come, yet they come. Similarly, one doesn't see that the happiness is going to come and still comes. That's what it is referring. So suddenly is basically not grossly visible. Like one of the qualities of human beings given by Kapila Dev is that they're convinced that unless until we work very hard, we will not be happy. Because they can't see that certainly happiness is going to come, like the way unhappiness comes. Thank you.
Thanks,
Text 19. Nave jano jatu katasna navrajin. Mukunda sevi anavayat anga samsritim.
Mukunda sevya anavayat asanga samsritam.
Smaran mukundangri upaguha nampuna.
Smaran mukundangri upaguhanam punah.
Vihatum ikchena naras graho janaha. Please do translation and purport also.
My dear Vyasa, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down, somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruity workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy time again and again. Purport by His Divine Grace. A devotee of the Lord automatically becomes uninterested in the enchantment of material existence because he is Rasa Graha, or one who has tasted the sweetness of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. There are certainly many instances where devotees of the Lord have fallen down due to uncongenial association, just like fruity workers who are always prone to degradation. But even though he falls down, a devotee is never to be considered the same as a fallen karmi. A karmi suffers the result of his own fruitive reactions, whereas a devotee is reformed by chastisement directed by the Lord himself. The sufferings of an orphan and the sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not one and the same. An orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care of him. But a beloved son of a rich man, although he appears to be on the same level as the orphan, is always under the vigilance of his capable father. A devotee of the Lord, due to wrong association, sometimes imitates the fruity workers. The fruity workers want to lord it over the material world. Similarly, a neophyte devotee foolishly thinks of accumulating some material power in exchange of devotion service. Such foolish devotees are sometimes put into difficulty by the Lord himself. As a special favor, he may remove all material paraphernalia. By such action, the bewildered devotee is forsaken by all friends and relatives, and so he comes to his senses again by the mercy of the Lord, and is set right to execute his devotion service.
Thank you.
In-
Thank you. So what is this verse referring to? Famous verse which Prabhupada pushed at many places, even for himself.
When Krishna loves someone, especially does love to someone, he takes his wealth first.
Yeah, yes,
10.88.8.
So it's more talking about fall down on a very advanced level. So there, I think it's in the 11th kind. So Prabhupada disciples who write the purport, and they say that how does Lord do it for advanced devotees? For those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness, till a person becomes so attached to Krishna that he just can't give up lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna doesn't take away anything. But he takes away anything from that devotee, he may give up Krishna only. So Krishna allows a person to become very attached to him. Once a person becomes very attached to Krishna, then when Krishna sees that this particular sense object is causing him, or it is becoming his impediment in the progress of devotion service, Lord removes it. When Lord removes it, then a devotee progresses very quickly towards Krishna. And when devotee becomes capable of utilizing everything in Krishna service without becoming attached, Krishna gives everything away. And in one of the places, Prabhupada says like that. Prabhupada says, when my Guru Maharaj was telling me to take sannyas, I was feeling I have my wife, children, this, that. How can I take sannyas at this time? But Krishna took away everything. He gave medicines to the people, they didn't return the money. There was a fire in the business. His children were not like taking up the responsibilities properly. So Prabhupada said that Krishna took away everything. And now, because I have taken sannyas, Krishna is giving me so much that now practically we are spending so much money every day, and moment is expending so much. So that's for more of a advanced devotees. And yeah, yes, one good example is Sanatana Goswami giving up the kilt. Mahaprabhu said it is the last attachment. And for those who are not very advanced, for them also Krishna has this particular verse Prabhupada has quoted here. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Bhashta Vichar. So these verses Krishna speaks. Krishna actually opens his heart in these particular verses, saying that Apiche Suduracharo Bhajite Maunanva. So one devotee who has taken shelter of me alone, I always call him a sadhu. Why do I call him a sadhu? Because he has resolved that even if I have to go to hell for my misdeeds, I will never give up Krishna consciousness. So just because he's in that process of purification, he will get purified in the course of time. So he may not be purified, but he will get purified. So that's why the most important thing is Bhajate Mamanana Bhakti. Ananya, no karma, no gyan, no yoga, only bhakti. Ananya, no Kali, Durga, this, that, only Krishna. So one who has taken shelter of Krishna, Krishna takes care of such a devotee. So this verse also says like that. So if somebody forsakes his Varnasam Dharma, takes up Krishna consciousness, later on he fails to even practice Krishna consciousness properly. So he's not like a riven cloud with no place in any sphere. It's not an, oh, I couldn't practice my Varnasam properly. I couldn't progress in spiritual life properly. And it does happen, really speaking, sometimes when brahmachari they change their ashram at a very advanced stage, it happens for them. Or sometimes certain devotees have a lot of troubles and they have to take some lower stand or compromise with Krishna consciousness, it happens with them. So they do feel many times like that. But Krishna assures there's no loss. Because even if towards the end of the life, if this person cannot pick up Krishna consciousness, he will fulfill his desires. If he's very advanced, he'll directly take the birth in a devotee family and again get a better opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness. So that is how devotee doesn't lose anything in this life, in the sense of losing opportunity for sense gratification. He gets it either in the heavenly planets or in a better family. Similarly, he doesn't lose anything there because his bhakti is preserved. And there are better opportunities for practicing Krishna consciousness. So that's why bhakti is the best process and it's very safe process. That's exactly what is spoken by Narada Muni to assure Vyasdev, don't worry. Don't worry if you preach and person becomes disturbed in his varnashram, there is no loss. So neither in this life nor in the next life. Text number 20.
The Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis.
The Supreme Lord
Text
is
21.
Just a minute, I will explain. The Supreme Personal Godhead is himself this cosmos in the form of Virat Rupa. Virat Rupa is a subtle conception of cosmos. Still is aloof from it, as Krishna, as Narayan. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. That's Mahavishnu, from whom the whole cosmos emanates. In Mahavishnu it rests, and it enters in him after annihilation. That's like a when complete annihilation of the universe is happening. And at the end of day of Brahma, same thing is true for Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Planets emanate, or they are within the stem of the lotus, which emanates from his navel. They rest in that stem of the navel, so stem of the lotus. And after the end of day of Brahma, when there is annihilation, all the living entities rest on him. So that is how, that's literally true. Please go to the next verse.
Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul, personality of Godhead, because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please therefore describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly.
More vividly. So you have perfect vision. And you can know Supreme Lord. You are also birthless in the sense that your birth is divine, taken from Vyasdev, and your Supreme Lord empowered incarnation. So that's why I explained about Krishna more vividly. So I think Dhananjay Prabhu was once asking me that even in the other scriptures, there's talk about Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, many other places. But the difference is there, Vyasdev had emphasized a lot on dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That is, bhakti was given more as a medium for getting moksha, for getting liberation. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, bhakti itself is declared to be the perfection of life. Rather, those are liberated souls, Atma Ramas, they become attracted by bhakti and they want to become perfect deities. That is how Bhagavatam takes a person on Pancham Purushottam. That's Krishna Prem. So that's how Bhagavatam is different from other scriptures. Although other scriptures also talk about Krishna. So this Bhagavatam talks about Krishna more vividly, where bhakti is explained as a goal, not just a means. then there's this famous verse. Idam hi pumsas tapasa sutasva.
Idam hi
Idam hi
pumsa
pumsa tapasa shuddhasya
Sishtasya suptasya cha buddhi dattayo.
Sishtasya
suktasya
cha buddhi dattayoha.
Avichyuto artha kavibhir nirupito.
Abhichyato artha kabibhi nirupito.
Yaduttam sloka gunanuvarnanam.
Yat uttama sloka gunanuvarnanam.
So the instruction to graduate. Please read the translation as well as the purport.
Learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry.
Yaduttam sloka gunanuvarnanam. It is defined in the choice poetry. Please read the purport.
Purport by His Divine Grace. Human intelligence is developed for advancement of learning in art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, economics, politics, etc. By culture of such knowledge, the human society can attain perfection of life. This perfection of life culminates in the realization of the Supreme Being, Vishnu. The Shruti therefore directs that those who are actually advanced in learning should aspire for the service of Lord Vishnu. Unfortunately, persons who are enamored by the external beauty of Vishnu Maya do not understand that culmination of perfection or self-realization depends on Vishnu. Vishnu Maya means sense enjoyment, which is transient and measurable. Those who are entrapped by Vishnu Maya utilize advancement of knowledge for sense enjoyment. Sri Narad Muni has explained that all paraphernalia of the cosmic universe is but an emanation from the Lord out of his different energies, because the Lord has set in motion by his inconceivable energy the actions and reactions of the created manifestation. They have come to be out of his energy. They rest on his energy, and after annihilation, they merge into him. Nothing is, therefore, different from him, but at the same time, the Lord is always different from them.
What is this philosophy called? Nothing, not.
Achintya Bheda.
Thank you. Achintya Bheda Vitattva.
Yes.
Please continue. You can continue next slide.
When advancement of knowledge is applied in the service of the Lord, the whole process becomes absolute. The personality of Godhead and his transcendental name, fame, glory, etc. are all non-different from him. Therefore, all the sages and devotees of the Lord have recommended that the subject matter of art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, and all other branches of knowledge should be wholly and solely applied in the service of the Lord. Art, literature, poetry, planning, etc. may be used in glorifying the Lord. The fiction writers, poets, and celebrated literatures are generally engaged in writing of sensuous subjects, but if they turn toward the service of the Lord, they can describe the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Valmiki was a great poet, and similarly, Vasudev is a great writer, and both of them have absolutely engaged themselves in delineating the transcendental activities of the Lord, and by doing so, have become immortal. Similarly, science and philosophy also should be applied in the service of the Lord. There is no use presenting dry speculative theories for sense gratification. Philosophy and science should be engaged to establish the glory of the Lord. Advanced people are eager to understand the absolute truth through the medium of science, and therefore a great scientist should endeavor to prove the existence of the Lord on a scientific basis. Similarly, philosophical speculations should be utilized to establish the supreme truth, as sentient, and all powerful. Similarly, all other branches of knowledge should always be engaged in the service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, also the same is affirmed. All knowledge not engaged in the service of the Lord is but nescience. Real utilization of advanced knowledge is to establish the glories of the Lord, and that is the real import. Scientific knowledge engaged in the service of the Lord and all similar activities are all factually Harikirtan or glorification of the Lord. Hare, thank you.
So when Prabhupada is talking about proving the existence of the God on a scientific basis, so what did Prabhupada did to establish this particular fact? Did Prabhupada do something?
Gentlemen.
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji, His Holiness Bhakti.
Yeah. So Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was
Bhakti Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj.
He was instructed to make Bhaktivan Institute for that purpose. So I remember Maharaj would come in 2005, 2006, he came very frequently to Kharagpur, and we got good fortune to associate with him many times. So then Maharaj was telling that Prabhupada wanted me to get Nobel Prize. I couldn't get it. So now all of you should try to get Nobel Prize. You were inspiring all of us when we were studying. So one can use, when we use it for Krishna service, then such a thing becomes Hari Kirtan. That's what Prabhupada talks about. And similarly, now Prabhupada so many places condemns the aspect of mental speculation. But here we find Prabhupada is glorifying philosophical speculation. So speculation done to establish the supreme truth as sentient and all powerful. So that's encouraged. Speculation done on the level of mind with no scriptural basis is condemned. So the difference between mental speculation and philosophical speculation. So one who has faculty of intelligence, it's not that one should just memorize and just speak. One can build up the bridges between the different philosophical aspects based on philosophical understanding and come to a better understanding. So that's why we have discussions here in our Bhakti Vaibhav here. So that's the purpose. That's called philosophical speculation. At the same time, mental speculation with no scriptural basis. That's coming. So that's how one can use one's intelligence also in Krishna service, and that's Hari Kirtan. That's Hari Kirtan. In this way, everything that's art, poetry, anything can be used in Krishna service. When everything is included or used in Krishna service, it expands the realm of Krishna Seva. Many people can be accommodated. At the same time, it also helps one to remain Krishna conscious all the time. So that is how one can always remain Krishna conscious. So we'll just you had some question.
Prabhuji, you were mentioning at one place that for a bhakta, there is not loss here and there is not loss there. And in that you mentioned that no loss here, it means that there are opportunities for sense gratification. Like I could not understand, like maybe I have
Okay. Mati, you're muted now. I understood the question.
understood wrong. Please correct.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, I muted. I have asked that how are the opportunities here for one who is on the path of bhakti, but have yes.
So even if one has a desire for sense gratification, generally speaking, there are sense gratifications are permitted, something which are prohibited. But in general, unless the devotee himself gives it up, and sometimes even he gives it up. Krishna gives that opportunity for self-dedication also. So that's what exactly we find from the life of Dhruv Maharaj, who is more counted as the Karma Misra Bhakta. So we find that Dhruv Maharaj, when he took darshan of the Lord, especially the counsel of the Lord, touched his forehead, he forgot something, but Lord didn't forget. Then he was praying. Kachan vichinvan navidit ratnam swamin तथातो अस्मि वरम न याचे. फर्स्ट लाइन. स्थान अभिलाषी तपसी स्थितो हम त्वां प्राप्तवान देव मुनिंद्र गुह्यम काचन विचिन्वन अभिदिव्य रत्नम स्वामिन प्रताप वरम न याचे. So स्थान अभिलाषी तपसी स्थितो है. So स्थान अभिलाषी, I wanted a स्थान, I wanted a place higher than Brahma. That's why I did tapasya. तपसी स्थितो हम त्वां प्राप्तवान देव मुनिंद्र गुह्यम. But I got you, who is aspired by devatas, Munis, Indra, and you are even not obtainable by them. So I was asking for broken piece of glass, Kachan Vichinvan, but I got Api Devratna. I got jewel like you. Swamin Krithatvasmi Varam. That's why, my dear Swami, my dear Lord, I don't want anything else. But what Lord says, if I don't give you, all the people will say this Krishna is very clever. He calls people and then he makes them forget their material desires. That's why, my dear Dhruva, whatever you desire, I'll give you. Dhruva Maharaj wanted a kingdom better than Brahma. He got Dhruva Loka, which is not ruled by even Brahma, better than Brahma Loka or Satya Loka. Dhruva Maharaj wanted to sit on the lap of his father. His father loved him more than his stepbrother. He wanted to sit on the throne of his father. He ruled on this kingdom for 57 years. He wanted to take revenge from his brother and stepmother before. His brother was died in the hands of Yaksha. His stepmother went in the forest and was burnt to ashes. So Lord gave everything which he wanted, even if he forgot it. That's why for devotees generally, they don't lose anything. They don't lose anything, whether in this world or in the next world. Only thing is, we ourselves should not aspire for it. We should try aspire to get rid of these material desires. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sorry. Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, in 1.5.17, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, you were mentioning regarding the difference of opinion in the, like there were two school of thought, one on the path of bhakti and the other on the path of karma. So what line exactly you quoted from the Purport Prabhuji regarding Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? Difference of what? You were mentioning something and
Okay.
relate.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll show you only. So just a minute. So the last question I'll take and then stop. Yeah. So this is the verse I was quoting. Na buddhi vedam janiyada jnanam sarvam samvedam yoje sarva karmani vidwan yukta samadha. So Krishna speaks that don't disturb the people who are ignorant, who are attached to the results of their work. So that Krishna was talking about Gyan. For Gyan, don't disturb people and tell them, oh, give up your work, it is very despicable, and no, renounce. Let them get purified by Niskam Karma. But for Bhakti, Bhakti is very independently powerful. So for Bhakti, Lord Ajita is quoted from 6th canto. That even if a foolish person, anybody is there, you tell him to give up karma and take up bhakti, because that karma is very dangerous for him. So why does he speak like that now? Because as far as bhakti is concerned, a little bit of progress of bhakti is better than highest result achieved from karma jnana yoga. Because result from karma jnana yoga, highest result is liberation. Bhakti's little bit progress is better than liberation. That's why there is a gain, there is no loss. And second thing which I spoke is that for bhakti there's no qualification required. For Gyan, qualification is required. And that's why Krishna condemns Arjuna to take up the path of renunciation. Because if he gives up the Karma Yoga and takes up Gyan Yoga and he is not qualified, he will have trouble in that path. He will not have opportunity to work and purify his senses. And he will dwell in the sense objects and become more degraded. Whereas in Bhakti, there is no such cause. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank
Yeah?
you so much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. You're muted now. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. I have.
Okay, your question is answered. Fine. So what we'll do, so before we go to the next week, maybe devotees can take this particular homework for the next class. So one devotee can just take a snapshot and put it in the WhatsApp. The homework for the next class. I think maybe somebody has put it there.
Yes, Prabhuji, take them.
Okay, thank you. So we'll end here. Mantrasana Bhagavatam ki
Yeah.
Prabhupada ki
Yeah.
Vanchakalpadurvasa
Upasamaya Patitanam
Prabhupada ki.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
2 घंटा 11 मिनट हो गए.